Well, my friends, somebody in the crowd is asking Jesus, isn't everybody going to get to heaven after all? The Israelites had this idea that because they were the chosen people, only the most egregious criminals and the most unrepentant sinners would not make it, but everybody else would. And that idea has kind of crept down into our own time, where everybody kind of has the idea that everybody is going to be going to heaven after all. Is it true? Let's look at the polls. And I'm not talking about the polls dealing with next November or the next 4 years. I'm talking about polls recently taken dealing with eternity. Okay? As might be expected, 51% of American adults think that just being a good person or doing good things for other people will get them into heaven. And then it moves up a little bit. 63% think that just by confessing their sins and accepting Jesus as their personal Savior, they'll make it into heaven. And then it gets a little bit more dicey. 10% don't know whether they're going to heaven or to hell. They're not sure. 7% think that God is so wonderful and so full of love that how could he possibly create a place other than heaven, a place where people would go to be damned. 5% think that they can get to heaven only by not doing the things that are the thou shalt nots in the 10 Commandments. Not doing anything, just not doing those things. And 2%, believe it or not, are convinced that they are just not going to go to heaven at all. And so the polls are all over the place. And perhaps this morning we could, just imagine, we could do a focus group here, like this side of the church. We'll try to decide whether all nice people are going to go to heaven. We'll get together, compare notes, and then report out. And the people on that side can decide whether God really is capable of coming up with something like the concept of hell. And you get a consensus and report out. But you know what, my friends? All the polls and all the focus groups on this are useless because all they are the opinions of people who are not experts in this area. They are not experts. And the only expert we hear from is the words of Jesus himself in the gospel today. Strive to enter through the narrow gate. He's the only opinion that counts. And so what are we being told today? Let's take a look at a few of the things that Jesus is trying to highlight in this little talk. First off, getting to heaven is not done by accident. One has to strive to get there. Jesus is saying not necessarily to earn our way into heaven, but he's pointing out a direction to go through. And the direction is through him, the very narrow spot. The example that he's given us, his teaching, his life, that is the narrow gate. And, my friends, it's a turnstile kind of operation where each of us goes in singly, one after the other, one by one. We don't go in as a group like all of the highest donors at St. Mary's go in as a group and are saved. All of the people in this particular Bible study go in as a group. And we can't even go in on the coattails of our saintly grandmother. We have to go in individually. Each by himself or herself. Some will not be strong enough. And the only ones who are not going to be strong enough to do this are only the ones who have not asked for help. Jesus is there constantly. He put people in our lives to be help for us, to make sure that we make it through that narrow gate. And so Jesus is the help. And believe me, if he has put all of that effort into helping us through our lifetime, then he really does have a vested interest in making sure that we make it through. What else could we pick up? Well, some people are convinced that they can do this, get to heaven, on their own terms. Can you believe it that some people think that they are so perfect that they're going to get to heaven? Think about this for a second. As Catholics, I'm sure, I know I was brought up this way, and many of you as well. We're brought up to believe, and it's true, that we're all sinners. And Jesus came to this earth to teach us, to give us his example, and to die for us, to save us from our sinfulness. And that's just a fact that we must deal with. To deny that we're sinners is to discount all that Jesus has done for us. And it's not just us Catholics who have this. Billy Graham, who now is 97, a few years ago, was giving a mission in Australia. And the Melbourne newspaper carried a little letter written by one of the participants. And that individual said, if Dr. Graham is selling a religion based on the fact that I'm lost and I have to be saved, then I reject it altogether. Give me a religion, give me a good practical religion that teaches tolerance and forgiveness, teaches the breakdown of barriers between race and class, teaches our children only about goodness and nothing about sin. Give me that kind of religion. If I have to believe that I am going to be have to be saved, then I would rather be damned. Well, that's kind of extreme. In fact, it's a really bad plan, because after all, it's only in the humility of admitting that we're sinners, that we're imperfect, that we can even get to forgiveness and tolerance. Think of how many people that you know who are all full of themselves in their profession, who are also tolerant and forgiving. Probably not many at all. Then what's the final thing? This offer of salvation that Jesus gives has a time limit attached to it. It has to be done during our lifetime. There's a point at which the Lord will close the door on us. It has to be done during the time that we are alive. And so for today, perhaps as a beginning, let's, as we leave our Mass, leave our worship together, offer a little prayer to begin this whole process. Lord, just make me aware of your help in my life today. Give me your help to know you, to know more about you, to make myself look more like you during my lifetime, and make me recognizable to you when I die, because I want to be recognized by you. Is everybody saved? I certainly will try and strive to enter through the narrow gate, and I know each one of you also will strive and try to enter through the narrow gate.